Hey everybody, I'm here with a quick Diddy trial update. Listen, that man said can't stop, won't stop, and he brought those words to life because he didn't stop. After his homes got raided, Jane Doe is on the stand right now saying that the freak offs did not stop after the raids. The latest one was August of 2024, and he got arrested September 2024. And evidence that they picked up out of the hotel room that he was staying in right before his arrest. And pretty much had evidence that it was probably being prepared to have a freak off. And I said to myself, man, one thing I gotta thank God for, and I'm not gonna say I never had no addictions. Listen, Starbucks, I had a high level addiction until my doctor told me I better knock it off. I had a very bad sweet tooth. I mean, to the point where sometimes I would just be in my house and there's like a local in Jersey, they call it a quick check. But some people, it's like 7-Eleven. Like I think everybody probably have one in their state, like a gas station or something that's just 24 hours. I would literally sometimes it'd be late at night and I'm like, oh my God, I'm craving something sweet. And I would go there and get some candy. Had it bad. And I had to work hard to ring myself off. Addictions is a beast. And addictions, no matter what they are, they're gonna, probably take you out of one way or the other. You're addicted to sweets, you can probably lead to having diabetes, but I don't want to go down that path right now. I want to stick to addictions will take you out. This man was so addicted to having sex that even after they raided his home and he knew that the eyes was on him, he was still having freak offs. Like that is just totally insane to me. Can't stop and didn't stop. He needs help, regardless of whether the outcome of this trial, he needs help. So that would say to me, I ain't trying to start no mess. I feel like a lot got to be going down in that Metropolitan Detention Center. You don't go from being highly addicted to being pleasured almost every single day to just going cold turkey when you got arrested in September, especially when your last freak off was in August. I wonder if they speak to some of those inmates, what they would have to say. There's this saying, if these walls can talk. Let's go ahead and get more into this story. Hold on, let me share a screen. The Diddy trial. Jane says federal raids didn't stop freak ons. Miami meet up month before his arrest. Diddy's ex-girlfriend says even feds raiding two of his residences didn't stop the freak-offs because she says one of the last ones she participated in was in August 2024, about a month before he was arrested. Let me say this though. Again, I don't quite understand how Jane is claiming to be a victim or maybe trafficked it. But we'll continue, because how do you go from you was the girlfriend and you clearly say that the only reason why you didn't stop was because you didn't want your rent to not be paid by him. You didn't say he was forcing you. But anyway, let's continue. Jane is back on the stand for a second day of testimony, and prosecutors went through the entertainer she said she had sex with during hotel nights. So I guess he changed it from freak offs to hotel nights, right? The name she and Diddy gave their freak offs. Jane ran through the last time she said she had sex with these people. And when it came to Don, the man she says took part in her first freak off with Diddy, she says they last hooked up in August of 2024. It didn't take place at a hotel, Jane testified. She says they held the freak off at Diddy's Miami home on Star Island, which was the one raided by federal agents in March 2024. So I guess the only thing that he did different, I guess he felt like, if this thing happens in my home, what I do in my home is my business, versus having, because the heat was on him, so to speak. So instead of having another hotel possibly being able to testify to what he was doing, he did it in his home. So many people said to me, Diva, don't you think the kids were aware of these situations? And I just got like, oh, I will say this. The twins lived in the LA home. right? Because they went to school in LA. The boys, though, is a different story. So I will revamp and say this with my wording. I'm sure the boys knew what he was doing at a certain point. I'm not saying their whole life, but I'm saying at a certain point. Because I do know that Christian King Combs was with him in September, like when he was in New York to turn himself in. So I'll roll with the boys knew. I don't think the girls knew, but let's take a listen.
In fact, if he's not careful, Diddy could find himself kicked out of the courtroom. That is the warning he got from the judge this morning. I mean, it is stunning that the judge would say this, and we're going to get into what happened that prompted this. But consider this man is on trial could be in prison for the rest of his life. And the judge literally said, you may have to sit on the sidelines and you will not be able to be in the courtroom while that is happening.
Seems like a very drastic warning.
So what went down? The day started with Brianna Bongelin, the designer and friend of Cassie, who was testifying yesterday. She was being cross-examined by one of Diddy's attorneys.
Right, this is the woman that was allegedly held over the balcony, Charles.
Right, and they were getting into more of that, grilling her on that. And then they took a break. And once the jurors had been led out of the courtroom, the judge stopped Mark Agnifilo, Diddy's lead attorney, and said to him, you better talk to your client about his behavior.
It's a pretty remarkable moment that doesn't happen very often, where a court will admonish the defendant like this. It's also a pretty human moment, right? Diddy's been sitting there for 4 weeks hearing bad things said about him, and now he's got his defense counsel who's sort of sinking their teeth into a witness, and he's nodding along with it. I get it. Obviously,
so yeah, we should get into Jason, because we hadn't said what exactly the issue was. What the judge was taking issue with was Diddy looking at jurors, apparently, and giving his approval to what was being said, like nodding his approval.
It was on cross-examination, and his counsel was going in pretty hard at Brianna and Diddy thought making some good points, and Diddy wanted to convey to the jury that he appreciated the questioning or appreciated the answers that the way the witness was responding. And so he started nodding along pretty vigorously, apparently.
Now, if he's nodding, that's fine, but you can't nod while looking at jurors.
What's
right?
the issue? What is the issue? What is the issue, though, Jason?
So the judge is basically saying you're trying to convey information to the jury. You have a right to do that. You can get up on the witness stand. But otherwise, your job is to sit there and not do that, not convey information to the jury. Honestly, the most draconian sort of result here could be that the judge would say you're virtually testifying. You're gonna waive your Fifth Amendment privileges here. That would go you'd have to wait for a long time to do that. But here, what the judge said is, if you continue to do that, continue to try to convey information to the jury, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick you out of the courtroom.
Which is stunning, because he has, a constitutional right to face his accusers. It's the jury, I guess, is the issue here. That
I think, Charles, I think that Diddy was excited that his defense attorney was picking apart the witness on the stand, caught her in possibly a lie or two. The witness had testified that the hanging over the ledge incident took place September 26, 2016, and Diddy's defense proved that he was in New York at the time, not Los Angeles, where that incident allegedly took place. So Diddy...
So you're right. I'm sure he was pretty happy with the way that was going, and probably smiling and, like the judge said, nodding. The issue is when you do it while you're staring down a juror, then you are conveying something. It does come down to, as Jason said, I guess sort of like testifying without testifying.
Right. And I'm sure, like for Diddy, he had to listen to Brianna the entire day before, Charles, go through all of this testimony where he was accused of roughing her up, of hanging her over the 17th floor balcony. So I imagine if Diddy is actually telling the truth here, that would be incredibly difficult to listen to. But again, can't do it.
Let's get to that about what is the truth about this, because they didn't necessarily, certainly the defense wanted to make it look like this never happened and she completely made it up. On redirect, the prosecutors said, can you explain why you got the date wrong? So they weren't conceding that it didn't happen. They're saying she may have gotten the date
about
wrong.
something that happened 9 years ago.
And her response was, look, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, this is what juries do, right? They're going to hear this information sort of, you know, and they're going to have to make a determination of what they believe and what they don't. I think it does make a lot of sense that you wouldn't remember something to the specific date that happened 9 years ago, although you're not hung off a balcony very often, so you would think that that would be something that would be crystallized in your mind, and also you would have worked out with prosecutors beforehand. It's odd that she got caught in this misrecollection of the specific date.
They're on a break as we're speaking right now, but the victim number two, who is testifying under the pseudonym Jane, is about to testify, and Diddy's going to have to really watch his behavior and his actions, his reactions to that testimony.
Hi, I'm Marie Dial here in Ireland, and Diddy needs to stop trying to interfere with the jury. I think today in the testimonies is probably one of the worst that we've had, and with him trying to get involved with the jury does not make him look any way good at all, and he really needs to stop.
It's funny. Listen, if there's court etiquette that you're supposed to follow, he needs to follow it. But you know, it reminded me when I said, you know, if this was just a thing where I didn't see other cases and worse things happen, I would be like, oh my God. But listen, in the what was it, A$AP Rocky trial, he straight up told a witness not to answer a question. To me, that's more egregious than Diddy nodding and shaking at the jury. I want to say in the YSL trial, one of them got straight up caught handing somebody substances in the courtroom. To me, that's way more offensive than this, but you know, it is what it is, and every judge is different. So let's continue, because the point of this particular video is cray for you to continue to have freak offs, and you know that they're watching you. Talking about can't stop, won't stop. As you know, Diddy's residence in LA and Miami was searched by feds in the months leading up to his arrest in September 2024. And his own lawyer, Mark, told him, because Mark told us that he told Diddy it wasn't a matter of if they're going to indict you and arrest you, it's a matter of when. So did you say to yourself, like, let me just go ahead and get as many freak offs as I can in before I get arrested? Insane. Which would be about a month after Jane says this freak off with Jane went down. Between May 2021 and August 2024, Jane says she participated in freak offs with a number of different men. However, she does say the frequency in those encounters dropped off, going from happening every week or every other week from May 2021 to October 2023 to happening just a handful of times from February 2024 through August 2024. Remember, Jane says there was Jane says that the two were on a 4-month break from October 2023 to February 2024. Jane has testified that she used ecstasy for sexual energy during these encounters and to numb the freak offs, which she felt were too intense otherwise. She says she felt she needed to keep taking part in them because Diddy paid her rent and she was concerned he would turn the tap off if she didn't. So, I mean, you know, it's ironic, but I feel like so many people in the industry kind of knew what was going on in Diddy's orbit, so to speak, because it's also ironic that, you know, well, let me say this. Let's look at this and then
I think the main two takeaways are, one, that she says she was, they had broken up and they were off and on a couple times, but they were still dating at the time of his arrest. And two, she's detailing they're having a conversation where he's talking about a freak off basically, and she is portraying this as, oh, I thought this was just like his sexual fantasy, and then she goes to the bathroom, she comes out, and he's on the phone like setting it up, presumably for that night. So she
got it. So he's explaining the first time she ended up in a freak off.
Right.
She's saying she agreed to it because she thought it was a fantasy, right? And then comes out, he's like, let's do it tonight.
And then they say that there were multiple.
She's just talking about the first.
Just talking about the
right
first
now.
time.
That's where
and
we are.
She's just
right
getting
now.
started. So
yeah, I mean they're getting into it, but yeah.
Okay. Now they're doing details about the first one.
Yes.
I think we do this can we do this in like 3 minutes, do we think, and still do Tim's?
yeah.
So listen, you know, It's a mess. He has addictions, and I personally, and I think I said this in another video before, I personally, if I would have took Diddy on as a client, I would have been like, from the moment they raided his home, if I would have had him as a client from that point on, I would have said, 1, you need to be in rehab. 2, there are to be no more freak offs. 3, you don't open your mouth and say nothing on nobody's social media or anything unless you get it approved by me first. And 2, you need to lay low, all the way low, until we figure out what they actually recovered from your homes and what charges they're going to bring against you. But you know what? When you're arrogant and when you really want to live that bad boy life and you want to live up to all the words in some of your different songs, can't stop, won't stop. Well, here you are. You couldn't stop. You didn't stop. So now when they locked you up, you was forced to be stopped. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we heard about some free calls over there at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Listen, guys, chat with me in the comments. And when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. Everybody, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Let me know your thoughts.